Welcome to English Easy Hub. Join us as we ignite the flames of your English learning journey together.
Please subscribe to watch and embark on your English learning journey. Don't miss out on the exciting content. In this conversation, Simon seeks advice from his teacher on how to reduce or refine his English accent. He shares his struggles with certain pronunciation challenges, particularly the ch and r sounds, as well as difficulties with rhythm and fluency in speech. Simon expresses his concern about sounding too slow or out of sync compared to native speakers and seeks practical guidance to sound more natural in English. The teacher offers a detailed, step-by-step approach, focusing on key elements such as proper tongue placement, stress and intonation patterns, and rhythm in English. The teacher also introduces the shadowing technique as an effective practice for improving both pronunciation and fluency, and emphasizes the importance of building confidence while speaking.
Hi, teacher. I've been thinking a lot about my English pronunciation lately. I feel like my accent is still pretty noticeable, and I'm not sure how to make it sound more natural. Do you have any advice on how to avoid or reduce my accent?
Simon, I understand what you're going through. The desire to sound more neutral in English pronunciation is something many learners face. But first, let's remember that an accent is a natural part of language. What's important is not necessarily to get rid of it, but to work on being clear and intelligible. So, my first question for you, what part of your accent do you find most challenging? Is it the individual sounds or the rhythm of speech?
I think it's a bit of both. Some specific sounds, like the th or the r sounds, are tricky for me. And rhythm, too. I notice that native speakers have a kind of flow or fluidity to their speech that I can't quite match. It feels like I'm always either too slow or too fast, never quite in sync. How can I improve both of these areas?
Great observations. Let's tackle them one by one. For the tricky sounds, especially th and r, I'd recommend focusing on tongue placement. For th, the tip of your tongue should lightly touch the upper front of your teeth when you say it. It's not just about saying the sound, but positioning your tongue correctly. Practice words like think, that, or though. For the r in English, the tongue should not touch the roof of the mouth like it might in some other languages. Instead, it should be curled slightly upward without touching anything. Try saying words like red or right and feel the difference in tongue position.
Interesting. I've always thought the r sound had to be more rolled, like in Spanish or some other languages. I never thought of it as just curling the tongue. I'll definitely work on that. But about rhythm, how do I make my speech flow more naturally?
Rythme. English has what we call a stress-timed rhythm, meaning that some words, usually content words like nouns, main verbs, adjectives, are stressed, while others, function words like articles, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, are reduced. In contrast, some languages have syllable-timed rhythm, where every syllable is given roughly equal time. This difference often causes learners to sound a bit stilted when speaking English. The trick here is to focus on stressing key words and linking unstressed words together.
So, you're saying that in English, the stressed words are pronounced more clearly and the other words just blend together? That's why I always feel like I'm lagging behind when I listen to native speakers?
Exactly. You're catching on. Native speakers naturally emphasize the key words in a sentence, which creates that smooth, flowing rhythm. The unstressed words tend to be much softer, almost like they fade into the background. You might want to practice this by listening to English songs or speeches and mimicking how the speaker stresses certain words. It's like a musical rhythm, and you need to internalize it to make your speech sound more natural.
That makes a lot of sense. So, if I focus more on stressing the key words and relaxing the smaller ones, I should start sounding more fluent? But what about speed? I've noticed that even when I get the rhythm right, I still feel like I'm speaking too slowly compared to native speakers.
Speed can be a tricky one. Many learners think that speaking faster equals fluency, but that's not always the case. In fact, speaking too fast can make your accent more noticeable because you might lose clarity. The key is to aim for a natural pace, which might feel faster than you're used to. The more you practice with shadowing, which I'll explain in a moment, the more comfortable you'll feel with maintaining both rhythm and speed. Shadowing will help you sync up with the flow of native speech.
Shadowing again? I've heard of it, but I've never really tried it in depth. Can you explain exactly how it works?
Sure. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker, whether it's a podcast, video, or a speech, and try to repeat what they say immediately after hearing it. The goal isn't to focus too much on individual words, but rather to imitate the rhythm, intonation, and stress patterns. This forces you to match the pace and natural flow of speech. At first, it might feel awkward, but over time, it'll help you get used to the speed and natural cadence of English.
That sounds like a great exercise. Do you recommend any specific materials for shadowing? Should I be listening to things that are more formal, or would casual conversations work, too?
I'd suggest starting with something you enjoy, whether that's a casual conversation, a podcast, or even a YouTube video in English. The key is to choose something that's a bit above your current level so that it challenges you. If it's too easy, you won't make much progress. If it's too difficult, it could be discouraging. And make sure the speaker is someone who has clear, standard pronunciation. As you progress, you can add more complex materials like TED Talks or news broadcasts.
Sounds like a good strategy. I think I'll start with some podcasts on topics I enjoy. But, teacher, do you think I can ever completely lose my accent? Or is it something that will always be there?
It's a good question, Simon. While it's unlikely you'll completely lose your accent, since your first language influences your pronunciation, it's definitely possible to make it much less noticeable. The goal is to sound clear and fluent, not to erase your identity or cultural background. A slight accent can actually be a positive thing, showing that you're bilingual or multilingual. What matters most is that you're able to communicate effectively and confidently. The more you practice, the more your accent will naturally blend into your speech.
That's reassuring. I was worried I had to erase my accent completely to be taken seriously in English. I feel a lot better knowing it's more about clarity and fluency than perfection.
Exactly. And remember, language learning is a journey, not a destination. Every step you take to refine your pronunciation and speaking style will bring you closer to sounding like a fluent speaker. Just keep practicing, and don't be afraid to embrace your unique accent as part of your linguistic identity.
Thanks so much for all this advice. I'm going to try shadowing and work on the individual sounds. I really appreciate your insights into rhythm and flow, too. It feels more achievable now.
You're very welcome, Simon. Keep at it, and you'll definitely see progress. Just don't rush the process. Consistency and practice are key. Let me know if you ever need more tips.
I definitely will. Also, I was wondering, sometimes I feel self-conscious when speaking, especially in front of others. Any advice on how to overcome that and speak more confidently?
That's a common concern. Confidence comes with practice, but one thing you can do is start speaking in low-pressure situations. Record yourself speaking and listen back. It might feel awkward at first, but hearing your own voice in English helps build confidence. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll get, and soon you'll find that you're less self-conscious. Also, remember that making mistakes is part of the learning process. Native speakers make mistakes too.
That's a good point. I'll try recording myself more often. Thanks again, teacher. I feel like I have a clearer path forward now.
I'm glad to hear that, Simon. You're doing great, and I'm sure you'll see improvements with consistent practice. Keep believing in yourself.
This conversation highlights the core challenges many English learners face when working on their pronunciation: mastering difficult sounds, understanding the rhythm of native speech, and building fluency. The teacher's advice provides Simon with a structured plan to tackle these challenges. By focusing on stress-timed rhythm, mimicking native speakers through shadowing exercises, and refining the articulation of specific sounds, Simon gains practical tools to improve his speech. Furthermore, the teacher reassures Simon that while a complete loss of accent may not be possible, clarity and fluency are the primary goals. Confidence plays a key role in the process, and Simon is encouraged to embrace his unique accent as part of his linguistic identity. The teacher's guidance offers valuable insights into the journey of language learning, emphasizing consistency, patience, and self-belief. Overall, this conversation provides a roadmap for any learner looking to enhance their spoken English and achieve greater fluency while embracing their natural accent.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share to keep the English learning journey alive.